At the edge of the forest stands a village with a singing young Cinderella, Jack and his white cow, and a childless baker and his wife. Cinderella's parents are dead, and she has to live with her wicked stepmother and her daughters. Jack also has a hard time. His father left this world long ago, and the boy had to suffer himself with a cow that does not want to give milk. In addition to these characters, lives in the village of another girl, who can be recognized by a bright red cape. The stepmother and her daughters are going to a ball, and they let Cinderella look into the castle, too, after she has gathered every last grain that the villain has poured into the fireplace. No one expected that birds would come to the girl's rescue. The boy's mother orders her son to take the cow to market to make some money. The girl in the cape could use the money, too. Looking into the baker's shop, she persuades his wife to treat her to buns for her grandmother. After filling her basket, the girl sings her way deep into the woods. Finished with the grain, Cinderella helps her sisters gather for the ball, also singing songs. But suddenly the fun comes to an end when a wicked, terrifying witch bursts into the baker's house. She offers to help the childless couple. In 3 days it will be possible to lift their curse, and to do something about it. The mother gathers Jack to the market, ordering him to go to a neighboring village. No one in hers will pay well for her. Just as Jack leaves the house, the old woman tells the baker and his wife to get her a cow whiter than milk, a scarlet cloak, a strand of hair yellow as corn, and a shoe more expensive than gold. The couple has 3 days to do everything, and then they will have a child. Cinderella tells her stepmother that she has managed to gather every last grain, but the villainess does not give her stepdaughter permission to attend the ball in the castle. They will choose a wife for the prince. The baker's wife finds the beans, for which they were once cursed, but her husband takes them from her, saying that he will go into the forest alone. Despite the ban, the woman decides to go with her husband, and the company goes out on the trail, as well as the boy with the cow, Cinderella escaping over the fence, and Little Red Riding Hood. Cinderella comes to a large tree under which her mother is buried and receives a ball gown and crystal slippers. Little Red Riding Hood, on the other hand, goes astray and meets the cunning wolf, who is attracted to both the appetizing pies and the appetizing girl. The predator sings songs to the traveler, trying to lure her into a trap with a flower for her grandmother, but the clever Red Riding Hood is not fooled and continues on her way. Next, the girl runs into the baker. He tries to take away the red cloak, but the girl raises such a shout that he has to give the thing back. Next, the couple sees a boy with a cow. The master asks £5 for the animal, and then the baker's wife decides to deceive the boy by offering him the beans, saying that they are magic. The baker sends his wife and cow home, and he goes in search of the rest of the artifacts. Meanwhile, the prince rides through the woods and is drawn to the voice of the beautiful princess in the high tower. In front of the boy's eyes, Rapunzel lowers a scythe, which the old witch climbs up. On reaching her grandmother's house, Little Red Riding Hood sees the door open wide from afar. In the house the girl becomes uncomfortable. The grandmother is not like herself, and in a moment she eats the girl, turning out to be a wolf. The baker hears Red Riding Hood's cry. Having ripped open the wolf's belly, he rescues the prisoners and is about to leave, but remembering what she has been through, the girl gives him her red cloak in gratitude. Her mother scolds Jack for the lost cow, and she throws the beans right out in the yard, not noticing how they produce huge shoots. Finally reaching the palace, Cinderella has a great time with the prince, but when the clock strikes midnight she escapes. The baker's wife helps the girl hide from the prince, and while discussing the girl's secrets, she notices her shoes. Upon awakening, Jack's mother sees a huge beanstalk. The woman's son at this time finds the baker and gives him the 5 gold pieces he managed to get by climbing up the tree trunk, hoping to get the cow back. The baker declares to the boy that the cow is not for sale, but not listening to the man, the boy runs to the beanstalk to get more gold coins. The baker himself discovers that he no longer has the cow either. It escaped while his wife was busy with Cinderella. The couple has until midnight tomorrow. The two princes meet in the woods, telling each other about beautiful girls, one about Cinderella and the other about Rapunzel, one with the cornrow hair. The boy's conversation is heard by the baker's wife, and she realizes that Rapunzel is just what she needs, and while the princes sing, the woman sets out to find the tower. Upon reaching it, the woman asks Rapunzel to shed her hair. Instead of climbing up, the baker's wife tears off her golden hair and runs away, happy for another victory. Meanwhile, Cinderella escapes the prince again. The baker's wife tries to take the slipper from her by grabbing the girl on the forest path, but nothing succeeds. Noticing a wagon with a group of blondes, the baker tries to steal their hair, but the girls throw him out onto the road. Sitting down to take a break, the man finds a cow and immediately his wife appears with a golden braid. The couple decides not to be separated again and go on to find the rest of their belongings, dreaming of a child. The couple's happy plans are spoiled by Jack. He gives the baker a golden egg and is about to take the cow, but the cow turns out to have a surprise. She decides to die on the spot so no one will fight for her. The prince in love spends time in the tower with Rapunzel, and when the time comes, he goes downstairs to avoid running into the witch. He does not manage to go unnoticed. The old woman is watching the date from her hiding place. The sorceress surrounds her horse with thorns, and the prince loses his eyes. Climbing into the tower to her ward, the old woman announces the end of her love story and, to make herself finally safe, the witch cuts off the princess's hair. Jack meets a girl in the woods wearing a cloak of wolfskin. He brags about his golden egg and tells of a being passed to the celestial kingdom. When the girl asks him to prove that such a thing exists, the daredevil climbs back up to steal the golden harp for his girlfriend. But this time everything does not go according to plan. A giant descends from the sky, and the boy has to cut down the trunk to the root. It falls with the giant, right in front of the baker and his wife. Cinderella escapes from the royal ball for the third time, but this time she falls into a trap. The stairs are tarred and she has to leave her shoe. Cinderella gives the second shoe to a woman and gets the last magic bean for it. In the desperate rush, no one notices that another sprout has begun to rise from it. The prince goes in search of the mistress of the shoe. Cinderella has the hope that now there will be a feast in her street, but the stepmother does not allow the girl to take part in the fitting, trying to marry off one of her daughters. For this purpose, the wicked woman even deprives the girl of part of her legs so that they may fit into the slipper. But the prince notices the deception and still asks to see the third daughter, in whom he immediately recognizes his beloved. As punishment for the deception, the birds, Cinderella's girlfriends, deprive the deceivers of their eyes as well. Meanwhile, Rapunzel is freezing in a dense thicket where the witch has banished her, but the prince finds her by her voice and the couple embraces each other. Tears streaming from Rapunzel's eyes land on the prince's wounds, and he regains his sight. The baker finds another cow, but the witch quickly uncovers the deception. The boy has dusted the cow with flour, never managing to find a truly white one. Upon learning that the former cow is dead, the witch tells him to drag her away, promising to bring the animal back to life. The mother finds her son in the woods and notices the golden harp. Immediately the baker and his company join them, and the witch revives the cow, starting the ritual. The cow is fed all the other artifacts and the boy tries to milk her, but nothing comes out. Something was wrong and the baker has to forget about the child. Trying to figure out what's wrong, the witch discovers that it's all about the hair she touched Rapunzel's braid, and that's strictly forbidden. Jack suggests replacing the hair with hair of corn, and this time it works. The milk collects in a goblet and the witch takes a sip, hoping to become young and beautiful. She is swirled by the wind currents, returning her desired appearance, and the baker's wife gets a huge belly. Everyone's wishes come true. Things are getting great for Cinderella. She's getting married to the prince and everyone comes to her wedding: the boy and his cow, the baker and his wife and firstborn, and Rapunzel and her fiancé. Even the stepmother and her blind daughters visit the event. Happiness quickly ends as the ground begins to shake and the castle baths crumble on the heads of the guests. The prince asks everyone to calm down and promises to check everything out. On their way home, the guests see how much their forest has changed. Meeting Little Red Riding Hood in the woods, the baker learns that her village has been destroyed and she has not found her grandmother's house either. A giantess appears before the travelers, looking for Jack, who killed her husband. Hearing this, the boy's mother tries to intercede for him, but the giantess won't listen to anything and the evil stepmother and the royal servant come to her aid, ready to save their lives at the cost of the boy's life. Baker tries to calm everyone down, but even the witch agrees that they have only one way out: to find and give her Jake to save the kingdom. The witch finds Rapunzel in the ruins of the castle and tries to take her away, but the prince manages to cover the princess. The witch tries to cast a spell on the brood, but it becomes clear that she no longer has magic powers. The baker and his wife leave Little Red Riding Hood with the baby, and they set out to find Jack. Deep in the woods, the baker's wife meets the prince and tells him about the giant who destroys everything around him. But the catcher does not listen to her words and goes straight to flirting, expecting an affair. In the meantime, the baker finds Cinderella on her mother's grave and the couple decide to find the baker's wife and the prince to find out how they will fight the giantess next. Upon coming to her senses, the woman does not understand what is wrong with her and she expresses her confusion in song, after which she has to find her way back. Suddenly the woman hears the giant approaching and she tries to grab hold of a tree at the edge of the cliff, but her hands come off due to excitement. The baker leaves the princess with the baby and is about to find his wife, but suddenly a witch and Jack appear. The boy tells the baker that he found his wife under the cliff and he brought her scarf as a keepsake. Out of anger, the baker is about to turn in the giant Jack, who started it all. The company decides in song how to do the right thing. But finally the witch stops the noise and asks everyone to remember the baby. A storm breaks out around the witch, dragging her into the swamp. The gathering realizes that each of them is responsible for what has happened. Some have gone off the path, some have gone to the ball, and some have robbed the giant. The baker also has many regrets. He leaves the child with the princess and leaves, not wanting to live without his wife. On the way, the man sees the ghost of his father, who tries to comfort his grief-stricken son. The baker returns to the others and takes his son. He devises a plan to lure the giantess to finish her off. The birds tell Cinderella of the prince's betrayal, but she hesitates to tell the baker. Meeting her husband in the woods, Cinderella tries to pretend that they do not know each other, but when the prince recognizes her, the girl asks him to separate so as not to be deceived. Little Red Riding Hood begins to doubt that they are doing the right thing after all. Killing someone is bad, even if it is an evil giantess. While Cinderella comforts Little Red Riding Hood, the baker comforts Jack by telling him that his mother is dead. The adults have to sing a lot to support the teenagers, but the songs end when the giantess appears nearby. Jack lures the giantess and at just the right moment they make her fall. The girls find Jack and Baker pinned by a tree. Everything is behind them, but it turns out that almost no one has a home left. On second thought, Baker invites the teenagers and the princess to live with him, hoping to start a new life not alone.